Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. So we're coming to the end of our series of looks at the DK Publishing Guide to Solo: A Star Wars Story, and thanks again DK for sending me a copy of it. There are going to be a couple of larger topics that I'm going to be talking about in the coming week that are inspired by stuff from the official guide, but as far as the deep dive per se, this is going to be probably the last one, I believe. So let's just talk about some of the fun facts that will enhance your viewing potentially of Solo: A Star Wars Story. First of all, we know that the Pike Syndicate is the one in control of the spice mines of Kessel, and it turns out that Pike is the name not only of this criminal gang, but it's also the name of the species of alien that is a member of this gang. And they hail from the nearby planet of Obadiah, O-B-A, and new word D-I-A-H, and that's actually something we're going to talk about in probably one of the wildest far-out ideas about Star Wars that may have occurred to me. We'll be talking about that next week, too. As far as the Wookiee that we meet on Kessel, and obviously we see a lot of Wookiees, but there's one in particular that Chewbacca has a quick bond with, and that guy's name, or guy, could be a guy, not sure from the official guide, I'm just, I guess using the word guy colloquially, so it's Sagwa, and Sagwa is a Wookiee who had been trying to protect other Wookiees on Kashyyyk from Imperial patrols and ended up getting himself thrown in the spice mines of Kessel for his troubles, and even now it says in the official guide that he is trying to protect some of his weaker Wookiee compatriots from having some of the harsher duties. And I have to say, that was the moment when in Solo: A Star Wars Story, when we're on Vandor and Chewbacca's talking about how he's looking for his, and Han's translating, he says, I'm not sure if it's tribe or family. And so that moment in the movie when they're running and Sagwa's trying to say, come on, Chewie, come on with us, and Chewie, says goodbye to him, like gives him, the forehead tap, and then takes off with Han and Lando and the rest. Like, as I was sitting next to Brainstormer Lonnie in the movie, she went, oh, because that's the moment where you see the difference between tribe and family. And so, well played, Kasdans, for drawing out that particular divide. There's also a Gagoran kicking around the mines, name of Senna. And this is a thing where I wonder every so often, they created the Gagoran for Rogue One. That was that character Moroff that we never really saw very much of in the movie. I think maybe there was, a little flash of something, and there was more in the teaser and trailer footage and whatnot, and behind the scenes footage. But I wonder to myself, hey, we got this costume kicking around, and we need aliens kicking around, so why don't we throw somebody in the Gagoran costume and have him roaming around the mines? I wonder if that's just how the thought process works sometimes. It would be rather funny if it is actually that simple. But anyway, we've got a Gagoran in there as well. And then it appears that we've gotten a name for that giant creature that was chasing after the Falcon as they were making their run through the dangerous part of the Acades cluster, and that is a Summa Verminoth. Now, it's not said exactly that that is it. It just says that the parts of the Acades cluster that are dangerous to go in are rumored to have giant creatures called Summa Verminoth, and so, we're leaping to a conclusion as part of that, but that seems to be what that creature is called, a Summa Verminoth. Wow, okay. That's a good mouthful of a name for a giant creature. And you know what? The corrections department needs to chime in here because it's not the Acades cluster, it's the Acades maelstrom. So, yeah, there you go. And it's the Cicada cluster. Cyclada cluster. Cyclada cluster. There we go. Cyclada cluster. All right. Try saying it 5 times fast. That is the other thing that's there, the other interstellar landmark that is nearby Kessel that helps to make things so difficult. And the official guide describes the cluster and the maelstrom as shifting systems of interstellar gas, carbon bergs, ice chunks, and other debris that make it difficult. And, there is a route that's planned through, and obviously we see that in Solo: A Star Wars Story, and there are beacons that mark the way, and I guess you have to take little hyperspace jumps to help get your way through that. But obviously, because it's a shifting system, or these are shifting systems of gas and debris and whatnot, then the route of the Kessel Run actually has to change over time as well. And then a couple of things from Savareen for you to wrap it up. First of all, there was a Tognath there, and if you remember the character Edrio Two Tubes from Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, well, the fact that they were kind of implying that there's a bit of a formation founding, an initial spark of a rebellion happening with Enfys Nest and the folks on Savareen, well, it made me wonder if there was by chance, any relation between that particular Tognath and Edrio Two Tubes or his eggmate Benthek. And turns out, at least according to the official guide, not. The character is only known as Tubes, and so, that has to do with the tubes that he needs or she needs or it needs to breathe. But unfortunately, we don't have a full connection there. It would be interesting to see, but I guess just as a species, their world was taken over by the Empire, and so there is a species connection in that regard. And we have something called a shadowport being introduced, or at least the concept of a shadowport. That's what we have on Savareen. It is a spaceport that is off any official records, and so that it's funny that, okay, if it's not in official records, but, all the criminals seem to know about it, at some point you think the Empire would have found out about it already, but apparently not. It is a shadowport known only to the criminal underworld. And last but not least, in the index for Solo A Star Wars Story's official guide, there is a picture of Tag and Bink. And Tag and Bink are the characters that were created by Kevin Rubio, who you probably know, or you might know, as the creator of that Troops fan film, essentially the very first fan film. I know Hardware Wars was probably really the first fan film, but Troops was the one that really kind of made the whole fan film thing a thing, essentially. The sort of cops take off on Tatooine. Anyway, Tag and Bink were supposed to appear in Solo A Star Wars Story, and we never actually saw them. They must have ended up on the cutting room floor somewhere, but at least they were pictured in Solo A Star Wars Story, and so hopefully someday soon we'll find out a bit more about how they were supposed to appear and where in Solo. And that is going to do it for the show today. Over on the audio version at sw7x7.com/iTunes or wherever you like to listen to podcasts, I'm going to do Last Jedi Trivia, so do check that out. But in the meantime, just thank you so much for watching, as always. And may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.